Today we're going to be starting with another Miyamoto Musashi quote. The ultimate aim of martial arts is not having to use them, but the aim of A/B testing is that you use your results. Okay, so that's going to be the topic of today. So A/B testing for ecom, Klaviyo, email marketing. We're going to make it specific to that. So in this video, you will learn everything you need to know about A/B testing. Why is it A/B test? Well, like, what is this thing that people keep talking about, statistical significance? And yeah, by the way, the nose strip is not a Alex Hormozy fashion item. I just have a deviated septum. Multivariate testing, what does it actually mean? ABC testing, and more of these advanced things. Smart send time, how to select the winning metric, expected results, what can you expect? ABT, pop-ups as well, and things of that nature. So why should you listen to me? So in the last 9 years, I helped over not 900, but maybe over 300 e-com stores. I definitely audited over 900 with email marketing. So it's been my bread and butter. We have a team with like 10 employees, something like that. And we also have like 2 Fortune 500 companies. So been doing quite a lot of A/B testing in the last 9 years, and you will learn everything you need to know in this video. And then after that, you will not need to watch another video about A/B testing. All right. So first, let's start with the common mistakes. So the first one is actually making revenue the deciding factor when there's not enough data. So what do I mean by that? So what I mean here is, like, for example, when you set up an email in Klaviyo, you can select what is your winning metric. And maybe now is a good time to talk about this because I kind of like threw that phrase out there at the beginning of the video. So winning metric is like, okay, different rates, but lower click rates. So like, which one is the winner? Well, it depends on what you were testing and also how much data you have. Like, for example, if you get an end result with, this one version got a higher, like 2 sales, and then the first one, the other option, it got 1 sale. So 2 versus 1. Maybe it's not, like if you, the point of this statistical significance is if you extrapolate this data to 100 times bigger, like let's say you send an email to like 1,000 people and 3 people bought, which is actually a decent conversion rate, depending on, again, what kind of products you're selling. Then if you extrapolate it by a factor of 100, like maybe if you send an email to 100,000 people, do you still expect version A to get twice as many sales as version B? Probably not, because you don't have enough data to tell that, right? So with that being the case, for these kind of tests, usually we select click rate as, for example, the winning metric. And let's just come in here as well. Yeah, so just a very simple. So unless you have a list of less than, let's say, 200,000 or definitely under 100K, if you're sending emails to less than 100K people, chances are your winning metric is going to be either open rate or click rate. Okay. So when you're going to be testing some, let's go through them. So if you're testing sender name, like maybe you're testing like, I don't know, Ben from BE versus just BE as the sender name, or whatever your brand name might be, then there's going to be having an impact on the open rate, because what you're testing is something that has an impact on your open rate before somebody opens. Okay. Similarly with subject line, if the main title of the email, if you will, if that's something that you're testing, then again, the open rate is going to be the deciding factor. And you can see these numbers in here. So for example, we have this A/B testing tracking sheet, which you should have too, because one of the main mistakes that we will go over as well is a bunch of people do a lot of A/B testing, but then, like, what do you do with it? Like, did you learn from it? Like, was there any point? Because otherwise you're just kind of like, I don't know, guessing, like it's like a game, like playing around. And you could actually learn from these things, right? So for example, something that we really like to do is, first of all, do a smart send time test. So what is the best overall time to send to your audience? But then after that, go more granular and test, for example, day specific. Okay, so like on Mondays, what is the best time to send? Because chances are it's going to be different on Mondays versus Thursdays or Saturdays especially. So for example, when you're testing send time, then again, open rate is going to be the deciding factor. Even if version A had a higher open rate, which is like, not something super granular, like let's say 44.5% versus, maybe there are some good examples of like really minor differences in here. Like I would say this one is probably quite small of a difference. Also this one, by the way, 5.16, which is actually a really low open rate. So maybe we went interesting with the segmentation. And then versus 4.8, like actually it's kind of like, maybe if it was like 4.9 versus 5%, that would be kind of like, okay, is it really the winner? But in here, maybe you can probably just about say that, for example, in this case, the question mark or just asking a question in the subject line got more opens. Yeah. And then, for example, you could see with the smart send time tests in here, for example, we got 2 winners for 6 p.m. and then 1 for 3 p.m. and 1 for 12. So again, this is another one where we need to test these things more often, or maybe go more granular and select depending on the day. So the point is, whenever you're selecting a winning metric, it has to be, the open rate is going to be the defining factor if the things that you're testing is before somebody opened the email. Once they open the email, so you're testing call to action buttons, the first sentence. If you're testing the first sentence, that's already like a click rate defining winning metric, because it's not impacting whether somebody opened the email. Quick caveat here though, by the way, is a lot of times, I shouldn't say a lot of times. Basically, the default setting in Klaviyo is that Klaviyo will track something as an open if somebody scrolled to the bottom of the email. Okay, so for example, if this email, this one, like probably the cutoff point for the email is going to be somewhere here on a desktop device, because this is like super small, like how I zoomed out. So if somebody opens the email but you don't scroll, Klaviyo will not be tracking it as an open, because they just opened your email and immediately exited, right? So they have to go down to the bottom unless you change it in the settings in Klaviyo, which you can see in here on the tracking side, okay? So it's just like a quick thing to note on this one. But in general, if you're testing something within the email, you select the click rate as the winning metric. And now let's go back to other common mistakes, okay? So changing multiple things, like if you totally change a bunch of things within the email, yeah, maybe you could say, like, for example, we do this sometimes when we come into a new client, but they already have some emails set up, and then their emails suck so bad, but they seem to like it. Then we're like, okay, let's test our version versus your version. So that's what you're testing, like our interpretation of email marketing versus yours. And then the goal is that we just want to have the email that get better results. And maybe it's a more short-term mentality, but sometimes if you're in dropshipping or something like this, if there's like so many things wrong with the email that you don't even want to go granular and you just recreate the email, for example, or maybe it's like fully image based and then you were testing image versus text based. Technically, you're only changing one thing there again. So the textbook way to A/B test is you only change one thing. Okay, ending test too early. Like I've seen it so many times. Like some client get like I don't know, just impatient, and then they have 2 pop-ups active, and then they turn off the second version after 2 days because it was clearly, but you only had 50 impressions. Like you don't know. So many times it happened that in the first 1 or 2 days, or even a week, there was this one specific test when we were testing pop-ups and we were testing the time delay. So like, would it be triggering after, I don't know, 2 minutes or 30 seconds? Like which one? Or for example, we had this countdown timer. Yeah, so we had a countdown timer and it was saying like 15 minutes, and then we changed it to 3 minutes. And then the 3-minute version, it was performing badly in the first week, but after that it took over the other version once we got enough data. So it's totally possible. Like life is weird, it's random, so many variables and so much randomness that like you have to give it enough time. Okay, so ending test too early, equally ending test too late. Like so many times we come in to manage a client and they've been running A/B tests for 3 years and there was a clear winner and they didn't select the winner, which is just kind of like negligence, which I can understand why that happens, but again, it's a mistake. Testing things that won't move the needle, like testing, for example, like what about this emoji versus this one? Like it's like gonna like make it that big of an impact, do you think? Or like I don't know, like ending it with this word versus this one, it's like what, like yeah, maybe one of the versions will get like slightly higher like marginal benefits. And also, by the way, marginal gains can kind of like add up and compound over time. But if there's some like clear obvious other thing to test, then why not always test the things that move the needle the most first. Okay, like write up the things that you think could make sense to test, and then move those first. Yeah, and actually, what I've done for you here is adding common things that we test first when we come into a new account. Okay, so we've got smart send time. So this is a big one. You should just know what is the best time to send. Equally, something very important is longer versus shorter emails. So, like, do people respond better to shorter emails? So, for example, recently we had this skincare client. It was selling to, let's say, 40 to 50-year-old women in Europe, let's say Central Europe. And what we noticed is this is the third one, which is we were expecting like that audience will just respond to premium design better because it's like the nature of the product. It's kind of like this hair care product, and like before, afters, like all of that, like classic things in email marketing. And what we noticed is simple emails convert like it's stupid how much better they were converting. Okay, like twice as many clicks, twice as many sales, like multiple times whenever we test it. And the main thing again is test it often. Like one is not enough. One, like testing, oh, this in this email the premium design won, so therefore premium has to be better. It's like you have to do like at least, I don't know, minimum 10 emails in my opinion for this specific test. Pop-ups are great to test. Like there's so many things to do in there. I'm a really big fan of like simplicity everywhere. So for example, in this pop-up, my immediate first thought, I mean, this was a popcorn brand, so that could make sense, but just no image, because it just makes it condensed, and like there's more things happening, like boom in your face. No image, take 15% off your order. And then also not asking for the second thing, because a lot of times it's not that important. But if you find like if it really makes sense for your brand, then sure, you can consider it. I also really like testing subject lines in flows just because it's such a quick win. Because actually, if you think about it, more opens just usually will mean more clicks. Like the click rate, it's very important to know. This is not click through rate. Okay. So click rate, it means like total amount of recipients, not openers, recipients, and total clicks. And that's your click rate in Klaviyo. Okay. Klaviyo measures click rate. It doesn't, it might measure click-through rate, and you can calculate it as well, but the main thing it shows you is the click rates. Okay, so important to note. Yeah, and another thing is just test often. Like you can see, we're testing on virtually every single campaign. You want to be testing on pretty much every flow. For example, might be a bad example because we should be testing more often. Like you want to be having this like AB sign next to basically all of your top 10 flows, but especially your top 5. So that's just another quick win. And yeah, just finally to wrap up. So in terms of like common mistakes, like just testing but not keeping track, and just drawing conclusions from like wishy-washy data, and like you haven't tested enough things. So yeah, I mean, that was the quick video about A/B testing. If you got this far, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next video. Make sure that if you like this content, you found it helpful, send it to someone that could benefit from it. Like, subscribe, comment, and all of these things. So thanks, guys. Ciao.